I've been through this fight 42 years. I've seen it all. So what's really interesting is women like you and Sabrina will interview me. What's fascinating is, frankly, white liberal men. I don't think they have any idea of the journey that I've been through. There may be some jealousy mixed in there, but I can tell you that when I expose Kennedy, whatever experience you've had, that's your experience. Fine. But the bottom line is the historic lawsuit, our lawsuit exposed the entire backdoor portal in 2020. All right. Glenn fucking Greenwald, his mentor is Noam Chomsky, as you may know. Now, Chomsky knows me. Many years ago, Noam knows me very well. And he said, write to Glenn. I have all the emails. He did fucking nothing. This is in the middle of the lawsuit that we got the first federal injunction in the history of the United States exposing the government and Twitter are working like this. Well, you're the big tech guy wanting to do this. Do you only come after the building is burned down and write books and do fucking movies about it? Shit is happening right then and there. You see, delayed truth is deadly. Tucker Carlson, the same thing. You know what? All I know is people have said, you should be on Jimmy Dore's show. I don't go to beg to anyone. But the bottom line is when I exposed Kennedy, he tweeted against it. All right?
You're preaching to the choir on Kennedy. I despise him. I think he is a disgusting Zionist. And I think, as you said, the not so obvious establishment, although he is a very obvious member. He's a Kennedy.
You have a little bit of a revolutionary consciousness, and that's fine. Jimmy Dore did that. But I can tell you, so many people have said, put Dr. Shiva on since 2020. Now, I noticed that some of these people I really believe, and I'm saying this with all humility, I've been around the block. It could just be, oh my God, if I put him on, am I going to lose all my views? It's that kind of fucking jealousy. Women don't do it. So there's some fucking dynamic there that I have to point out. And you haven't been in my skin, gone through the levels of struggle I've gone. So you've had your experience. And the two women he's put on, does he have something against a revolutionary Indian male who comes bottoms up that is not going to speak in his language? And that I can tell you, when I tweeted against Kennedy, he hit me for that. All right. Praising Kennedy. So whatever the fuck it is. Okay. So you're doing some shit. But you know what? 2020 was the day of reckoning. March of 2020 to me is a litmus test from who's a man, who's a warrior, who's a boy, period. Because March of 2020, we were out on the streets fighting Fauci. We did the Fire Fauci campaign. We're the ones who exposed the pandemic. And it's all out there. Kennedy was promoting lockdowns, winning the most important lawsuit. Go to winbackfreedom.com. It's all out there. These people intentionally concealed it. Glenn fucking Greenwald intentionally concealed it.
Jimmy actually bought into the COVID narrative initially. I mean, he got himself vaccinated twice. He's vaccine injured. And at that time, March 2020, that was pretty early on. He may not have even been ready for that kind of information. And I think that I wish that he would have caught on earlier. I am glad that he did eventually catch on.
Why would you not listen? No, but I got to push back on you on this, okay? Why would you not listen to a guy who's got all the fucking degrees at MIT? I'm considered one of the leading guys in the immune system. In 2019, I was invited to give the prestige talk at the National Science Foundation on the immune system. So do I have to be a white guy with blue eyes with my last name Einstein or Feinstein? So I have to look at it that way, because all of these guys are white dudes, white liberal dudes, frankly. So in 2020, man up. And now after 3 years of doing it, but I'm not begging any of these guys. Look, the point I'm at is the future is offline. This is the future. And all these guys are going to become irrelevant because they're not about building movements. Glenn Greenwald wants to win Pulitzer Prizes and that kind of shit. He wants to cozy up to Tucker Carlson. Tucker Carlson is part of the intelligence network. All right. Yes. He got all of it. So if you're fucking hanging around Glenn with Tucker Carlson, if you're fucking giving media attention to a fucking douchebag, brown-nosing Brahmin called Vivek, and you don't have the decency to call an actual fighter, fuck you. So that's the way I feel about these people. And I was the one who discovered in my historic lawsuit that the government has created a backdoor censorship portal into every social media company. Tucker Carlson, as I call him, never even wanted to bring that out. We gave him all the information, including Glenn Greenwald. All these dweebs that people hold up as though they're fighting for us didn't do anything because I'm independent, I'm beyond left and right, or they're just jealous. They don't want to give the limelight to someone who's exposing this independently. They waited 3 years with the Twitter files and then they all started promoting Musk. I mean, Musk, where government ends and Elon Musk begins, nobody knows. So what we have right now is, if you saw the Republican debates, every one of those people is not only unqualified to be president, but they're all part of the swarm. None of them have gone through the life experience of I have, bottoms up. None of them even represent people, but they will literally steal my words, Misty. This is what they do in a recurrent process. I mean, I read a little bit about yourself. You're an activist. What's happened is the elites before used to just hammer people with fascism. Over the last 100 years, they create these fake heroes, what I call the not so obvious establishment. These people literally steal the words of us true anti-establishment people, mouth them. In fact, they have a whole PR department doing that right now. And the goal is to sucker people into thinking, oh, this person from above is going to save me. So people get distracted and they don't build a bottoms up movement. So my run for president is important because we're telling people, look, even if an outsider even ever wanted to win, you have to have a massive movement because you have to put the fear of God brought into those in power. And that occurred in the 1920s with women leading many of these movements in the United States and globally for that matter. And the establishment has become very powerful in creating these people. In fact, they have a factory, I believe, Misty. So this brown guy is reaching 500 million people. So let's create another fake version of him. That's his freaking douchebag, Vivek the Snake. I mean, overnight he's created a Brahmin boy, a Brahmin brown-nosing big pharma boy. Overnight they manufacture him, right? Overnight.
And a war hawk. He's a war hawk. He wants to go to war with China desperately.
Exactly. He's a fucking pussy. He has never had any life experience. He grew up in a nice Brahmin family, and the Brahmins basically have abused everyone else for centuries. Went to Yale and be part of that clique. Goes to a hedge fund. I don't know if you know this, Misty. The guy's such a douchebag. He starts a company from his hedge fund called Axovant, right? Literally buys a failed drug, has his mother reanalyze the data, present it as some great drug against Alzheimer's, knowing it will never work, makes billions. I mean, this guy's a fucking scumbag. But if you notice, Tucker Carlson never asked him. Even Glenn Greenwald has become a total pussy. Has him on his show, doesn't even address that. So all of the neo-establishment cabal has built all of these people. They all get paid on the back end with views and other kinds of things. So that's why I appreciate what you're doing. And the only way out of this is we need to educate people that you have the obvious establishment, the not so obvious establishment, and the larger political theory. Look, we need to be hypercritical of all of these people because all of them go look back at 2020 and you will find all of these people are Johnny come latelys. That's fine. They came later, but you didn't come when the fucking fire was taking place. So it's very, very important to remember who will be our leaders, who called it at the right time, and who led and who followed. So yeah, Jimmy fucking Dore, still to this day, I don't beg to be on his show. There's nothing about Massa put me on your show. The reason Jimmy Dore is a scumbag is I have the actual tweet here, okay, where I'm exposing Kennedy. I'm actually exposing Kennedy and this other shill for Kennedy called Chief Nerd, where I exposed Kennedy's video where he's saying, I'm fully pro-vaccine. I'm all pro-vaccine, right? And Chief Nerd says, oh, you left the end of the clip. I didn't, because you can see the whole clip. It's linked to it. And then Jimmy Dore says, oh, yeah, you left the end of the clip. You're pathetic. Well, the fucking bastard, Jimmy Dore, had to jump into that conversation to defend Kennedy, says everything about him. All right. So I'm going to do a whole live on this, exposing this douchebag, Jimmy Dore, who is defending Kennedy right here. I have it. So fuck you, Jimmy. And he knows I'm the one who exposed the backdoor portal. We're the ones who called all these people. And many people have written to him. So she's had her experience, frankly, as a white girl who's been put on a white guy show. Great. But he's a white fucking liberal and he's had a chance to put me on and he hasn't at critical times. So that's my experience. I don't need to be fair with him. And if I'm alienating him, great. But the bottom line is this. It's not about Jimmy Dore. It's not about Tucker Carlson or Glenn Greenwald. It's about us. It's about us recognizing that we must choose our leaders wisely who say the right thing at the right time. And that's what I did in 2020. And that's what we must do. We must build a fucking bottoms up movement and not all these people who are commentary people come after the fact. So everyone should go recognize that our run for president, it's our run, Dr.SHIVA for president. This is a way each one of you can get involved. You get that bumper sticker, put it on the back windshield of your car. And what's great about that is you reach 100,000 people. But I want to encourage people to volunteer and learn to get on the ground, because when you get this flyer and you get on the ground, you are now interacting with people. But more importantly, the messaging is very simple. Voting for Tweedledee and Tweedledum, left or right, the lesser of two evils is literally killing our children. And I keep pointing to that very simple graph. The US life expectancy is going wackadoodle the other way, upside down. And that's what happens when we follow people who are either misleaders or followers who come Johnny come lately. And what I want to end with people letting everyone know is what we have done here with Truth Freedom Health is create a university, a community, so each one of you can become heroes. So you stop asking, oh, what about him? What about him? Are you going to be on his show? The issue is we're going to create our own movement bottoms up. If these guys want to put us on, great. If they don't, great. But the bottom line is we need to create a bottoms up movement, because our movement has an opportunity to affect and change the entire world. TruthFreedomHealth.com, ShivaForPresident.com.